A message arrives that can ruin your morning in 10 seconds. A manager says the project is not good enough. Someone you love grows distant. The doctor says, we need more tests. Your plans collapse, your mind races ahead, and suddenly you are living inside a future that has not happened. Most suffering begins there, not always in the event itself, but in the frantic attempt to control what lies beyond your hands. Stoicism begins by drawing a boundary through that confusion. By the end of these minutes, you will understand the core principles that help slaves, senators, soldiers, teachers, and emperors remain steady under pressure, and how those same principles can help you meet the ordinary chaos of your own life with more clarity, courage, and peace. Stoicism was never designed for a quiet life without difficulty. It was shaped in public places, in courts, marketplaces, military camps, households, and political institutions. Its founders did not assume that life would cooperate. They assumed that people would face illness, loss, insult, uncertainty, temptation, failure, and death. The question was not how to make these things disappear. The question was how to remain a good human being while they happened. That question is more demanding than it first appears. Many people want calm, but only on the condition that nobody disappoints them. Nothing goes wrong. Their work is recognized. Their relationships remain secure. Their bodies stay healthy, and the future unfolds according to plan. But that is not calm. That is a negotiation with reality, and reality rarely signs the agreement. The Stoic alternative is not resignation. It is strength rooted in honesty. It asks you to see clearly what belongs to you, and what does not, then to place your effort where it can actually matter. Your reputation may shift. Your income may rise or fall. People may praise you, misunderstand you, leave you, or betray you. But your judgment, your intention, your choices, and the character you bring to each moment remain the territory where your freedom lives. This is the first and perhaps most important Stoic principle. Distinguish between what is up to you and what is not. Epictetus opens his handbook with this distinction. Some things are within our power, he says, and some are not. Within our power are judgments, impulses, desires, aversions, and, in the deepest sense, our own chosen actions. Outside our power are the body and its vulnerability, possessions, status, public opinion, and the actions of other people. This can sound severe at first. You may think, surely my body matters. Surely my career matters. Surely my relationships matter. Of course they do. The Stoics did not deny their value. They called health, friendship, security, and material stability preferred indifference. They are worth choosing when they can be chosen honorably, but they are not the final measure of a life, because they can be taken from even the most careful person. What is truly yours cannot be stolen by another person's cruelty, by a sudden market collapse, by a delayed answer, or by the changing moods of a crowd. Your capacity to respond with honesty, courage, restraint, and justice remains yours. Not perfectly, not automatically, but as a field of practice. Consider the anxious waiting that follows a job interview. You replay every answer. You search for hidden meaning in the recruiter's silence. You try to predict what they thought of your tone, your clothes, your experience, your face. But once the interview has ended, the decision is no longer yours. There may be another candidate. There may be an internal hiring freeze. There may be factors you will never know. Your work was to prepare thoroughly, speak truthfully, listen carefully, and show up with self-respect. After that, continued panic does not improve the outcome. It only turns uncertainty into self-punishment. The Stoic move is not to stop caring. It is to care correctly. You direct your concern toward your effort, not toward an outcome that cannot be commanded. This distinction changes the texture of daily life. A parent can guide a child, but cannot control every choice that child will make. A partner can communicate with care, but cannot force another person to understand. An employee can do excellent work, but cannot guarantee recognition. A person can eat well, exercise, seek medical care, and still face illness. Trying to control all of this produces a particular kind of exhaustion, the exhaustion of carrying a world that was never yours to carry. The Stoics would ask a simple question in those moments: what is the next thing that depends on me? Not the whole future, not everyone's opinion, not the perfect outcome. The next thing, perhaps it is making the call you have avoided. Perhaps it is apologizing without defending yourself. Perhaps it is preparing one more page, taking a walk instead of sending an angry message, or sitting quietly with the fact that you do not yet know. This is not small. It is the practical form of freedom. Yet people often misunderstand this principle and turn it into passivity. They say, if I cannot control the result, why try? But Stoicism does not tell you to withdraw from life. It tells you to act without becoming a prisoner of results. The Stoic philosopher Cleanthes expressed a powerful version of this attitude in a hymn to Zeus. He wrote that those willing to follow the course of nature are led, while those who resist are dragged. The point is not that every event is pleasant or that injustice should be welcomed. The point is that reality does not become different because we refuse to acknowledge it. When something has happened, your first responsibility is to see that it has happened. A relationship has ended. You can grieve it. You can learn from it. You can seek support. But if you keep bargaining with the fact itself, telling yourself it cannot be true, demanding that the past return, you place your life on hold. A painful truth becomes even more painful when you spend months demanding that it be false. Acceptance is not approval. If someone has treated you unfairly, you do not need to call it good. You may need to confront them, set a boundary, leave the situation, seek legal help, or protect someone vulnerable. Stoicism does not praise silent submission. It asks for action, guided by reason rather than rage, by justice rather than revenge. That leads to the next core principle. Your distress is shaped not only by events but by the judgments you place upon them. Epictetus states this with startling directness. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. The old translation uses men, but the insight belongs to every person. An event arrives. Then, the mind interprets it. Often, it does so at great speed. Your friend does not reply for several hours. The event is simple. There is no reply. But the mind adds a story. They are angry. They no longer care. You said something wrong. You are being pushed away. By evening, you may be grieving a betrayal that exists only in imagination. This does not mean every fear is irrational. Sometimes people are angry. Sometimes relationships do change. Stoicism is not asking you to deceive yourself with cheerful interpretations. It asks you to recognize the difference between evidence and assumption. You can say, I do not know why they have not replied. I feel anxious. But anxiety is not proof. That small sentence creates space. And in that space you recover the ability to choose your response. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminds himself to examine his impressions. In his private writings, now known as meditations, he urges himself not to add unnecessary judgments to what happens. If you are insulted, the sound of words has reached your ears. The rest is your interpretation. That you have been diminished, that your status is threatened, that you must strike back immediately. Sometimes the insult reveals something useful. Sometimes it reveals only the character of the speaker. Either way, your first task is not to explode. It is to see. Think of being criticized at work. Perhaps your supervisor says that your presentation was unclear. Your first impulse may be defensive. You feel exposed. You begin gathering evidence against them in your head. But what if you pause long enough to separate the criticism from the catastrophe? The presentation may have been unclear. That is a problem you can address. Or the criticism may have been delivered poorly, unfairly, even cruelly. That is also real, but your dignity is not preserved by reacting without thought. It is preserved by responding without surrendering your judgment. You might ask for specifics. You might revise the work. You might calmly state that a certain tone was unacceptable. You might decide the environment is unhealthy and begin planning your exit. These are all actions. Stoicism does not remove the force from your response. It removes the poison of reflex. The same principle matters in conflict at home. Someone says something cutting during an argument. The temptation is to return pain with pain, to find the sentence that will wound them most deeply. For a few seconds that can feel like power, but it is usually power borrowed from anger, and it leaves damage behind. The Stoic asks, what kind of person do I become when I speak now? Am I seeking clarity, justice, and repair? Or am I trying to win by making another person smaller? That question does not make difficult conversations easy. It makes them cleaner. It stops you from confusing intensity with truth. The Stoics had a name for the uncontrolled passions that carry us away. Patha. They did not mean all emotion. This is one of the most important corrections to the popular image of Stoicism. A Stoic is not a stone. Stoics did not aspire to become cold, numb, or incapable of love. They spoke of healthy emotions, often called eupatheiai, including rational joy, goodwill, and a form of cautious concern. What they opposed were destructive emotional storms built on false judgments. Rage that says another person's wrongdoing has destroyed your worth. Greed that says you cannot be content without more. Terror that says an uncertain outcome is unbearable. Grief transformed into permanent rebellion against what cannot be changed. The goal is not to feel less. The goal is to see more clearly, so that feeling becomes wiser. Seneca, who wrote extensively about anger, understood how quickly it can disguise itself as moral seriousness. Anger often tells you that it is protecting justice. Sometimes there is a real injustice beneath it, but anger is a poor commander. It exaggerates, rushes, humiliates, and enjoys the punishment of others. Seneca described it as a kind of temporary madness, because it takes over the mind before reason has had time to speak. When you are furious, the Stoic practice is not to pretend you are peaceful. It is to delay your obedience to the feeling. Do not send the message yet. Do not make the accusation yet. Do not decide who someone is based on the worst minute of their day. Give the first heat time to pass. A useful discipline is to name what is happening with precision. Instead of saying they made me angry, say I am experiencing anger because I believe I was disrespected. This may seem like a small grammatical change, but it restores agency. You are no longer describing anger as something another person inserted into you. You are identifying a judgment that can be examined. Were you disrespected? Perhaps. Then, what response is worthy of you? A boundary may be necessary. A direct conversation may be necessary. Distance may be necessary. But vengeance is not the same as self-respect. A loud reaction is not the same as strength. The Stoic understanding of judgment also changes how you deal with fear. Fear often appears as a warning, and sometimes it is. If you are standing too close to a cliff, fear is useful. If a dangerous person is threatening you, fear can help you act quickly and protect yourself. Stoicism does not demand foolish fearlessness, but much of modern fear is not immediate danger. It is anticipation. It is the mind rehearsing humiliation before a conversation, disaster before an examination, abandonment before a difficult text, financial ruin before the next month has even begun. You suffer the imagined event, then perhaps the actual event, then the memory of it. One pain becomes three. Seneca wrote that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The line remains powerful because it is so recognizable. You may lose sleep over an outcome that never occurs. You may postpone a meaningful action because you have already experienced, in your mind, every possible failure. The Stoic response is not blind optimism. It is proportion. Ask what is actually present. Ask what evidence exists. Ask what you would do if the feared event came true. Usually, when you think honestly, you discover that even the hard outcome would contain choices. You could ask for help. You could adapt. You could begin again. You could endure more than your anxious mind allows you to believe. This brings us to another foundation of Stoicism. Virtue is the only true good. Modern language can make virtue sound stiff, moralistic, or distant from ordinary life. But for the Stoics, virtue meant excellence of character. It meant living with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. These were not decorative ideals for philosophers. They were the standards by which a person could remain whole. Wisdom means seeing reality accurately and choosing well. Justice means treating others fairly and recognizing that your life is tied to theirs. Courage means doing what is right despite discomfort, danger, or disapproval. Self-control means governing your appetites and impulses rather than being governed by them. These four qualities are not separate compartments. They work together. You need wisdom to know what courage requires. You need self-control to act justly when desire pushes you towards selfishness. You need courage to tell the truth when it may cost you. You need justice to prevent wisdom from becoming merely clever. Marcus Aurelius was one of the most powerful men in the Roman world, yet his meditations return again and again to this simple concern: can I act with justice now? He reminds himself that human beings are made for cooperation. His image is famous. We are made to work together like feet, hands, eyelids, and rows of upper and lower teeth. For Marcus, a good life could not be built on private comfort alone. It involved serving the larger human community. That matters when Stoicism is reduced to personal toughness. A person can appear disciplined, successful, and emotionally controlled while being selfish, dishonest, or cruel. The Stoics would not call that strength. They would call it a failure of character. Suppose you are competing for a promotion. You could quietly undermine a colleague, take credit for shared work, or withhold information that would help them. You may gain an advantage, but what have you practiced? You have practiced becoming the kind of person who treats other people as obstacles rather than fellow human beings. A Stoic would say that this is too high a price because the damage is happening in the part of life that matters most: your character. This does not mean you should become naive. Justice includes fair boundaries. You are not required to make yourself easy to exploit. You can negotiate firmly, protect your work, say no, and leave people who repeatedly violate your trust. But you do not have to become vicious to become strong. Musonius Rufus, the teacher of Epictetus, emphasized that philosophy should be lived rather than merely discussed. He taught that women and men alike have the same capacity for virtue, because both possess reason and both need to live well. This was a serious claim in the world he inhabited. It reminds us that Stoicism is not an elite performance of composure. It is a practical education in character, available wherever a person is willing to practice. And practice is essential. Nobody becomes steady by agreeing with a quotation. You become steady by meeting small moments differently, again and again. You practice when your alarm rings and motivation has vanished. You may not feel inspired to exercise, study, work, or keep a promise you made to yourself. The modern instinct is often to wait for the right feeling. But feelings are weather. They change. If discipline depends on enthusiasm, it will disappear whenever life becomes tiring. The Stoics do not ask you to become harsh toward yourself. They ask you to become reliable. There is a difference. Harshness says, if I fail, I am worthless. Reliability says, I said I would do this, so I will begin. It might be a modest beginning. 10 minutes of focused work. A walk around the block. 1 page read carefully. 1 honest email written. The point is not dramatic effort. It is alignment between your values and your actions. Epictetus often used the image of training. If you want to be strong, you must practice strength where it is needed. A wrestler does not become prepared by admiring athletic ability. Likewise, you do not become patient by merely wishing to be patient when someone irritates you. The irritating person may be part of your training. That does not mean you should stay close to abuse or tolerate mistreatment in the name of philosophy. It means that when ordinary friction appears, you can use it. The slow cashier, the rude comment, the delayed train, the colleague who interrupts too often. These moments reveal the gap between the person you want to be and the person you become under pressure. The Stoic sees this gap without self-hatred. You lose your temper, notice it, repair what you can, and learn. You procrastinate, notice the story you told yourself, and begin and you seek approval. Notice how much power you gave away, and return to your own standards. Failure becomes information rather than identity. This is closely connected to the Stoic practice of voluntary discomfort. Seneca sometimes recommended setting aside periods of simplicity, plain food, ordinary clothing, fewer comforts, and the deliberate question, is this what I feared? He was not glorifying poverty. He was reducing dependency on luxury and security. The point is deeply relevant now. When every discomfort is immediately removed, discomfort begins to feel dangerous. A delayed delivery feels intolerable. A boring evening feels like a crisis. A difficult conversation feels impossible. But if you voluntarily practice small forms of inconvenience, you remind yourself that you can live through more than you think. Take a walk without filling every second with audio. Leave your phone in another room for an hour. Eat a simple meal without needing entertainment. Take the stairs. Sit with boredom long enough to notice what it asks of you. These are not punishments. They are reminders that your peace does not need to depend on constant stimulation. The same discipline applies to desire. So much of modern life is organized around making you dissatisfied. You are shown better homes, better bodies, better vacations, better careers, better routines, and better versions of everyone else's life. Comparison turns abundance into inadequacy. The Stoics were careful about this. They did not say that money or comfort were evil. Seneca himself was wealthy, and his life raises difficult questions about wealth and philosophy. But his teachings repeatedly warn against becoming owned by what you own. Wealth can be useful, he argued, but only if it remains a servant rather than a master. The question is not simply, do I have this? It is, what happens to me if I do not? Can you enjoy success without building your identity upon it? Can you appreciate praise without needing it to breathe? Can you own a beautiful thing without becoming anxious at the thought of losing it? A person who depends entirely on approval becomes easy to control. One critical comment can destroy their day. One cold glance can make them abandon their values. One burst of praise can make them perform a false version of themselves. Stoicism asks you to become less available for that kind of manipulation. This does not mean pretending you do not care what anyone thinks. Human beings are social. We want to be understood and respected. But it means making a distinction between feedback and worship. Listen to criticism. Learn where it is true. But do not hand strangers the authority to define your worth. Marcus Aurelius advises himself to be content with acting justly in the present moment, rather than chasing applause. This was difficult even for an emperor. He knew public opinion could be fickle, flattering one day and hostile the next. If he built his inner stability on praise, he would be ruled by the crowd. You can see the modern version whenever you post something online. You share a thought, a photograph, a piece of work, then comes the checking. Did people approve? Did the right person see it? Why did that other person receive more attention? The mind begins measuring itself against numbers that were designed to pull attention, not to reveal value. The Stoic remedy is not necessarily to disappear from public life. It is to enter it with a cleaner purpose. Share what is useful, beautiful, truthful, or necessary. Do your work well, then release the result. You cannot control how it travels through other minds. This same release becomes essential when life gives you loss. No philosophy can make grief painless, and any philosophy that tries to do so becomes inhuman. The Stoics did not claim that the death of someone you love should feel like nothing. Seneca wrote consolations to grieving people. Oh, Marcus Aurelius speaks with tenderness about mortality and the brief nature of human life. Epictetus, often quoted too harshly on this subject, was concerned with attachment that turns love into terror. To love someone, while demanding that they never change, never leave, never die, is to demand something reality cannot promise. The Stoic invitation is to love more consciously, because life is fragile, not less deeply, because loss is possible. When you are with someone you care about, be there. Do not reserve your tenderness for a future that may never arrive. Say the kind thing. Give attention. Resolve what can be resolved. This is not morbid. It is clarifying. If loss comes, grief may still arrive with enormous force. Stoicism does not command you to skip it. You may cry. You may feel emptied out. You may need time, companionship, silence, therapy, ritual, or faith. But somewhere within grief, the Stoic question returns. What remains possible for me now? How can I honor what was loved by living well in the life that remains? The same question appears after betrayal. Someone breaks a promise. A friend spreads something private. A partner deceives you. The first wound is what they did. The second wound is often the belief that their action has made you foolish, unlovable, or permanently damaged. Their betrayal tells you something important about their choices. It may also reveal something you need to learn about boundaries, warning signs, or the kind of trust you offered. But it does not define your capacity to live with dignity. You can grieve the person you thought they were. You can refuse reconciliation. You can rebuild slowly. What you do not need to do is carry their moral failure as proof of your own worthlessness. The Stoics were also deeply concerned with mortality, not because they were obsessed with death, but because awareness of death sharpens life. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself that fame, conflict, pleasure, and ambition all pass quickly. This can sound bleak if heard carelessly, but it can also be liberating. Many things that consume your attention today will vanish from importance within a month. The awkward moment, the slight embarrassment, the person who judged you, the argument about something trivial. Mortality gives perspective. It asks whether this grievance deserves so much of your limited life. This is not a reason to become detached from meaningful responsibility. It is a reason to stop spending your days in petty captivity. You have only so much attention. Spend it where your character can grow, where love can be expressed, where useful work can be done. A core Stoic principle lies beneath all the others. Live according to nature. This phrase is often misunderstood. It does not mean live primitively, follow every impulse, or accept whatever happens as morally right. For the Stoics, nature included the rational and social nature of human beings. To live according to nature was to use reason well, to recognize our connection with others, and to act in harmony with reality rather than fantasy. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, taught that the goal of life was to live consistently with nature. Later, Stoics developed this into a rich ethical vision. You are not an isolated creature whose only task is to acquire comfort. You are part of a larger whole. Your actions affect other people. Your choices help shape the kind of community you inhabit. This is why Stoicism cannot be reduced to private emotional management. If you are calm but indifferent to cruelty, your calm is incomplete. If you are disciplined but use your discipline to exploit others, it is distorted. Stoic strength must include justice. Think about a difficult person in your life. Perhaps they are selfish, combative, unreliable, or impossible to please. Marcus Aurelius advised himself each morning that he would meet people who were meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. His purpose was not to despise them in advance. It was to avoid being shocked when human weakness appeared. That is a useful way to begin the day. Not with suspicion, but with realism. People will sometimes act from ignorance, fear, ego, pain, and habit. You cannot control that, but you can decide whether their behavior will recruit you into becoming the same. You may need to respond firmly. You may need to document what happened, speak directly, or walk away. Yet you do not have to surrender your own standards simply because another person abandoned theirs. Their chaos does not become your obligation. This is especially important when you feel misunderstood. Few things are more frustrating than knowing your intentions were good and being judged as if they were not. You want to explain every detail. You want to force the other person to see the entire picture. Sometimes explanation is right. Clarify what needs clarifying. Apologize if you caused harm. Correct false information where you reasonably can. But there is a point beyond which you are trying to control another person's inner world. And that is not yours to control. Your task is to make your conduct clear enough for your conscience, not perfect enough for every observer. A clean conscience is quieter than public approval, but it is more stable. At this point, Stoicism can begin to sound like a set of noble ideas, but its real power lies in returning to the moment when you are tempted to abandon them. You are tempted to abandon them when you wake up already anxious and reach for your phone before your own mind has fully arrived. You are tempted when someone speaks sharply to you, when your plan fails, when you see someone else receiving what you wanted, when nobody notices the effort you made, when you are tired, lonely, afraid, or humiliated. In those moments, do not ask yourself to become a perfect Stoic. Ask for one clear act. Can you separate the fact from the story? Can you identify what is within your control? Can you choose a response that reflects wisdom, justice, courage, or self-control? Can you delay the impulse that would make tomorrow harder? Can you do the next necessary thing? These questions are small enough to use in real life, and their repetition builds something solid. There is a Stoic practice often called the view from above. Marcus Aurelius reflects on lifting the mind beyond immediate concerns, seeing cities, generations, ambitions, celebrations, deaths, and conflicts as parts of a vast and moving whole. The purpose is not to make your life feel meaningless. It is to make your immediate panic feel more proportionate. When you are trapped inside a single problem, it can fill the entire sky. The view from above does not deny the problem. It places it back in a larger landscape. You are one person on one difficult day, in a life that contains more than this moment. You have survived previous days that once seemed impossible. You will not always feel exactly as you feel now. From that broader view, you can return to the ground with greater steadiness. You still make the call. You still attend the appointment. You still face the conversation. But you stop treating one moment as the final verdict on your existence. There is also a quieter Stoic practice, evening reflection. Seneca describes examining the day, reviewing what he did, what he said, where he failed, and what he could improve. This is not meant as a nightly trial in which you condemn yourself. It is training. Before sleep, ask yourself where you acted well. Ask where you were ruled by fear, anger, vanity, or laziness. Ask what you will do differently tomorrow. The point is not to achieve an image of perfection. The point is to become less blind to your own patterns. Perhaps you notice that your worst conversations happen when you are hungry and exhausted. Perhaps you notice that you compare yourself most when you are avoiding your own work. Perhaps you see that your anger often begins as embarrassment. Insight gives you options. What remains unseen continues to rule you. Over time, the Stoic life becomes less about dramatic resilience and more about inner order. You stop demanding that life be fair before you act well. You stop waiting to feel confident before doing what matters. You stop letting other people's moods decide the quality of your character. There will still be hard days. Stoicism is not a promise that you will never feel overwhelmed. It is a practice that gives you somewhere to stand when you do. When the outcome is uncertain, you return to your effort. When criticized, you return to the evidence and your values. When angry, you return to the space between impulse and action. When tempted by approval, you return to your own standards. When faced with loss, you return to gratitude for what was real and courage for what remains. When discipline fades, you return to the next small act. The ancient Stoics did not possess modern language for psychology, neuroscience, or therapy, and Stoicism should not be treated as a substitute for professional care when you are dealing with depression, trauma, addiction, or serious mental illness. Seeking help can be an act of courage and wisdom. Philosophy is not a demand to endure alone, but Stoicism offers something therapy, support, medicine, and practical help can often work alongside, a daily orientation toward responsibility. It reminds you that even when you cannot choose your circumstances, you can still participate in your response. Even when life hurts, you are not reduced to what happened to you. That is why the philosophy has endured. Epictetus began life enslaved. Seneca lived close to political danger and was eventually ordered to die by Nero. Marcus Aurelius governed during war, plague, and personal loss. Their circumstances were different, their characters were imperfect, and their world was far from gentle. Yet each returned in his own way to the same discipline. Guard the ruling part of the mind, act with virtue, accept what cannot be changed, and use every difficulty as material for a better response. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." It is a demanding sentence because it does not permit you to call every obstacle meaningless. It asks whether the obstacle itself can become the place where courage, patience, ingenuity, or justice is practiced. A delay can become practice in patience. Rejection can become practice in self-respect. Failure can become practice in humility and renewed effort. Criticism can become practice in discernment. Loss can become practice in love without possession. None of this makes pain pleasant. It gives pain a place in a life that still has direction. The message that ruins your morning may still arrive. The uncertain call may still come. Someone may still fail to understand you, but you do not have to hand them the center of your mind. Today, when the next disturbance appears, pause before the story begins. Name the fact. Name what is not yours to control. Then identify one action that belongs to you and do it with a steady hand. If this kind of clarity is what you are building, subscribe to Stoic Against Chaos. Not to escape life's disorder, but to meet it without losing yourself. The core of Stoicism is simple. Govern your response, and chaos loses its throne.